Hey, mediocre gamer fam, what's going on? It is I, Anthony. I'm here with my best friend AJ. AJ, how are you doing, AJ?
I'm doing pretty good. For once in the last few recording sessions, it's not Monday, so that's pretty cool. We're over halfway
Wow,
through the week.
it's amazing. Yeah.
Work
Oh,
was
hump day, hump
hump day,
day.
baby. Work was fine today. I have a few complaints, but we're not here to talk about that. How was your day, Anthony?
My day was fine actually. I was able to cut out of work a little bit early, which was nice.
Nice.
Yeah, everything's cool. I'm just anticipating Dragon's Dogma at this point. I know you're sick of me talking about it, and you're gonna be sick of me talking about it. It's fine. I've accepted my fate, AJ. But we're not here to talk about Dragon's Dogma today. Unfortunately, I don't know if we'll ever hop on a podcast to talk about Dragon's Dogma unless it sells like 10 trillion copies or something stupid. Um, but we are here to talk about games because this is a gaming podcast after all. We're talking about retro games and AJ, we're gonna circle back to like what they actually mean and everything,
Mm,
but by the definition of retro games, we got a lot of games that we grew up on, you and I, viewers at home, we all grew up on.
mm.
For example, Arkham Asylum,
Oh, hold on,
retro,
hold on.
because
Before you
oh, I'm
start going
sorry.
into all this, I'm sorry. I do want to
Oh gosh.
preface that
Yes.
for a game to be retro,
Mm-hmm.
it has to be 15 years old. At 15 years
Mm-hmm.
and old, beyond is considered a retro game. So we pulled from a list of games, well, just from 2009's list of games that released then. So technically, some of these aren't retro yet as of today, but I mean, they came out 15 years ago, like, because it came out in 2009, technically. So we might be off by a few
I
months, but
mean, it's like the tombstone rule though, right? Like if you see the
yeah.
tombstone and it's like from 1900 to 1950, it'd be like, oh, well, they weren't 50 years old. They died in January. Their birthday was in March. We're
Yeah.
going with the tombstone rule, okay?
Yep.
So if they're not retro yet, kiss my ass. But just to kind of check out a couple of games because I
Mm,
was kind of shocked when I figured this out. Arkham Asylum was on the list, led with that. Halo 3 Orbital Drop Shock Trooper. Tiny story time about Anthony. Halo 3 ODST was my first M-rated game, AJ. It's my first one I
really?
ever got in life. Yeah, yeah. My
Mine.
pops was like,
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
"Oh,
Go ahead.
yours. What was
Go
yours?"
ahead.
No, I was gonna say my pops would always take me to Blockbuster back in the
Mm-hmm.
day, and he
Yep.
wouldn't even let me rent an M-rated game. He was like, "You can get teen," because I was like, I don't know, 9 or whatever. He's like, "You can't
Yeah.
even no, you can't rent it." And then one Christmas, he was just like, "Here's his new Halo game," and I was like, "Oh hell yeah, dude!" Even though it was short as all hell.
That's awesome. My first M-rated game also came out this year, in 2009. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. Uh,
Ooh, see,
yeah.
and Modern Warfare 2 was a moment in time.
Oh yeah, that was an event when that came out.
Yeah, it's hard to explain. It's hard to describe how big of a deal Modern Warfare 2 was. The Modern Warfare series as a whole in the early 2000s. I say early 2000s before 2010. Again, kiss my ass if you don't agree. Um, but yeah, no, yeah, Modern Warfare 2. Of course, Sims 3. This was the first game I had on PC. God,
Really?
we're old, AJ. We're old. We're
Yes, we,
old.
we certainly are. Another game that kind of surprising to me. I mean, granted, it's not the first one, but Wolfenstein, uh, that came out this year, which I didn't realize. I mean, I guess it doesn't surprise me. Uh, Also, along with that, I didn't realize Halo Wars came out the same year as Halo 3 ODST. I didn't realize
Well,
that.
because you
It
gotta
came out
think. I
before.
don't I think it was that weird in between where nobody knew what they wanted to do with Halo just yet. Like we knew a Halo 4 was coming. We
Mm-hmm.
knew that we were getting new Halo games. This was right before Reach came out, which Halo Reach was dope. But I don't care what nobody has to say about Halo Reach. But this was that weird in between where they literally just didn't know what they wanted to do. I mean, I think we could probably put Gears Tactics on this same list. I mean, if not this year, then next year. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, this was just that weird time when Microsoft was like, let's try something new. I mean, and you got to think this was right around the same time. I think Fallout New Vegas had just come out the
Yep.
year before in '08. And so they were like, oh, it worked so well with New Vegas. Let's try it with Halo. Let's try it with Gears. Let's try it with a handful of other games. This was. I'm not gonna hold you. 2009 might have been. 2023 might be the best year in gaming to date, maybe, possibly, potentially. However, 2009 got some bangers. It's
Uh,
top 10 for sure.
Absolutely, because I mean, there's some we haven't even mentioned that are like world renowned. I mean, new Super Mario Bros. Wii, uh,
Hmm.
instant classic for everyone.
Hmm.
Wii Sports Resort, I wouldn't say is instant classic for everyone, but that's still a big game. The original
That game is huge.
Borderlands, Assassin's
Hmm.
Creed 2, the first
The best one.
Infamous,
Great
Minecraft.
game. Yeah, yeah. Then 2009, right when Minecraft dropped, it was like the perfect time because that's when dun, 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 YouTube kind of came to prominence.
Mm-hmm.
I remember not having a gaming PC strong enough. I remember vividly. I'm talking about vividly, okay? Watching The Creatures. I don't know if you remember The Creatures, but I remember
Mm-hmm.
watching Nova, Kutra, Sly, watching those guys play Minecraft, and that's how I fell into the whole YouTube rabbit hole. I think I torrented a copy of Minecraft back in the day for sure. No, I definitely torrented a copy of Minecraft back in the day. That worked up until Microsoft bought Mojang, and then they were like, we gonna patch that up.
Which we do
Um,
not support pirating here, but
don't pirate games. I was broke in 12. Like, what was I supposed to do? You think I'm gonna mow grass to then mow grass in a computer? You done lost your mind. But but yeah, no. 2009 is full of some action. Oh yeah, Sims 3, Bayonetta,
mm-hmm.
Scribble Knots, Prototype. It's crazy. Hold up, timeout. Mini tangent. Prototype and Infamous could have been the coolest verses ever.
Yo, that would have been sick, especially back
Because I
then when they were
Oh my
both
goodness.
big. Oh,
Listen, because I remember Prototype and Infamous coming out at the exact same time, and I remember how big of a deal that was because they were both kind of pitted as these two huge original IP superhero games, even though they technically kind of weren't. They You just had these really dope powers. I mean, you
mm-hmm.
could say they're superhero games, but like not really.
Just super
Especially not
powered,
Prototype.
super powered.
Super powered, yes. They were just like, oh my gosh, like these are really cool superhero games. And then Prototype 2 came and it was good, but it also reused the map and it felt like the game that they wanted the first Prototype to be, and then Infamous just kept getting better. Um
Yeah,
and now we'll never get a Prototype 3. Or I'm not gonna say never because it's possible, but I doubt it.
yeah. I mean, I would love it. I would love to see because I tried. I never played him originally. I got
Mhm.
the Infamous then. That's the one that won me over. But I went back like 2 or 3 years ago and tried to play them, and it's just so hard. They're just clunky. You know, they're old.
The- Well, the first Infamous was like the clunkiest game. And
Mm-hmm.
so you got to think at the time, and this was like the 360 PS3 era, that y'all may not remember this. Okay, I'm talking to the viewers, AJ. I know you remember this. But the PS3 360 era was the beginning of the true console wars. Okay, because you had the original Xbox, you had the original PlayStation, and you had the 360 and the PlayStation 2, and it was
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, yeah, like I get it. But then when the PlayStation 3 came out and the 360 was still hanging real tough, hanging real strong, might I add. The 360 was astonishingly powerful
Mm-hmm.
for its time. But then the PS3 came out and it was like pick a side because the PS3 was stupid expensive when it first came out, like dumb expensive, like
It was
almost
almost
seven
double.
hundred
It
dollars.
was double. I think the price of the Xbox 360.
Yeah, yeah. And so if you had the PS3, you were just like, yes, I'm going to play my copy of Infamous, yes. And then the controls were awkward. Not only the fact that the gameplay was awkward. This is a mini tangent. I'm real sorry. Controls was awkward. Gameplay was awkward. And also, Prototype was just more fun. The first Prototype is more fun than the first Infamous. There, I said it. Sue me. I'm on one today. I don't know what's wrong with me.
I
Do
love
I
it.
need
I
a
love
nap?
the energy. And that see, and so I actually back in the day, speaking of that console war, which by the way, I would argue that instead that started the true console war, I would say that started the modern console war. I would say what
Yeah,
truly
yes.
started the console wars was Sega versus Nintendo, with the Genesis
I
versus
was gonna
Super Nintendo.
I
But
wasn't gonna say Sega and Atari, but okay, so Sega and Nintendo works.
I would say, well, just because like that's when we started actually like actively slandering each other. You know, with like the Sega does
Hmm.
with what Nintendo don't and all that stuff. Like it was
All I'm
like
all I'm gonna
presidential
say is,
campaigns bashing.
yeah, like I'm not gonna hold you. The Dreamcast was way ahead of its time, like
Mhm.
way ahead of its time,
Oh yeah, the fact that they had a
like
screen in the
20 years too
controller
early.
is crazy, and then you could take that and like portably take it elsewhere, and then like stuff you do with that will work with the game. Like way ahead of its time.
Wait, like the Dreamcast was doing stuff that Nintendo did with the Switch. Like I need like it's hard to overstate how big of a deal the Dreamcast was. Not only that, like it had online connectivity, like which we've been able to do since the 90s, since like the
Mm,
early 90s, but like Quake and everything like that. But yeah, no, the Dreamcast was way ahead of its time. And then Sega just realized it's expensive. And not only is it expensive, if Sega had stuck it out, if they were able to stick it out, they probably would have won that. Like
mm.
probably.
They
Like they
definitely
because they
could
really
have.
just pulled out in the middle.
And what didn't help them is that Sonic started slipping. That I think that was
Mhm.
their biggest Achilles was
Yeah.
Sonic slipping because you had Mario versus Sonic was like a legit conversation. Like it was what is better.
Mhm.
And then Mario 64 came out and then we got Sonic 3D Blast on the
Mhm.
Genesis and Sega Saturn. That was the only like real Sonic game that we got on the Saturn. So we went a whole generation, console generation with like no Sonic. Mario is the best it's ever been at the time in this
Yeah,
whole new
Mario 64
dimension.
is still a
And
classic.
then Sonic Adventure comes out in the Dreamcast, and well, it's a perfectly good game.
Mhm.
I love it very near and dear to my heart. I know more than a lot of other people, but it's still like a perfectly serviceable game. But when you compare it
Mhm.
next to 64 and then what
Oh my
came not
god.
too long after of Sunshine, it
Mm.
gets washed out in comparison. And that's, again, as someone who has beat that game a few times versus hasn't
Mhm.
beat the other Mario games, I could still say those Mario games are better for sure.
I mean, and then you got to think like literally Mario is the reason we have 3D Sonic. That's just a fact. That's a fact. That's just a fact. When Mario went 3D, that's when Sega was like Sonic got to go 3D.
And they didn't know
Like
how.
literally.
If you look at
How I mean, how do you?
what the original plan for the first 3D Sonic game was a game called Sonic Extreme that got canceled.
Mhm.
And it was this really weird like fisheye lens camera and like it was still 2D but like it was like 3D boxes so like you would go 2D and then could like turn on
It
the
was like
box but like
2.5D.
then the camera would change so it really is 2D but yeah like it was kind of weird like you still had like a 3D box you could like walk around and do stuff kind of and not necessarily a box but
Mhm.
like just using it as an example.
An area.
Yeah, but like it was still like 2D the movement. You could just turn on the plane, but then the camera would turn to make it 2D still. So I would
It's
say
very
2.5D.
it's like yeah, it was like yeah, like 2.5D. And then also like I think they just now are getting 3D Sonic right with what's the Sonic game? What's the Sonic
Frontiers.
game in the open world? There, Sonic
Yes.
Frontiers. I think they're just now getting it right. And this character has been around since like the 80s, like the late 80s. Like it's hard. It's hard to do. And again, to just now get it right like 40 years later when Mario was able to do it like when Mario was like 10, 15.
I'll give him. It's
Um
really hard with that speed because like it's
mhm.
hard to maneuver him in an open world. Like it's hard to get that movement right. Not saying it's impossible, but it's hard to get
Mhm.
that movement
Or
right in an open world. But then if you make it like narrow and like single pointed like the adventure games, then there's not like a lot to do extra. There's not nothing to explore. There's like you just point A to point B run, which is fun in its own right, but it's like
mhm.
it doesn't have the replayability that Mario has by like not by a long
No.
shot.
No. I mean, and yeah, yes. I mean, wow, this is supposed to be a retro games spot. I mean, well, it
That's
is a
all
retro
retro
games podcast.
games. That's
We're
all
talking
retro
about
games.
yeah, we're talking
So
about retro
I
games.
do want to give in this 2009 addendum we have. I do want to give some love to a few DS games because DS was
Okay.
big at that time. I mean, massive, one of the biggest consoles ever. So we have GTA Chinatown Wars came out.
Mm-hmm.
Legend of Zelda Spirit Tracks also came out. And the
Spirit. Oh man.
biggest hitter,
Spiritual.
Mario plus Luigi Bowser's Inside Story came out that year. The biggest hitter though is Pokemon Platinum. Absolute banger.
Yeah.
Absolute
Yeah.
banger. So those are also now, which is crazy to think that it took this long for DS games to start really becoming retro. It's
I
weird to
mean,
think.
well, what you got to think, the DS was ahead of its time. Like, I don't know
Mm-hmm.
if you remember this game, AJ. This is gonna sound crazy, but I just want you to walk with me for a second, okay?
Okay.
Spectrobes. Do you remember
Yes,
Spectrobes?
I do. Oh my gosh, you unlocked so many memories just
Yeah.
now.
First of all, time out because
Wow.
Spectrobes was fucking fire.
Yeah, dude, that game
Okay?
was sick.
And so, for those of us who don't know what Spectrobes is, okay, Spectrobes is a game where you play as a sci-fi knight excavator adventure person. You have this weird light sword that comes out of your wrist. It's really dope. And your goal, it's like you and your partner, y'all like not like romantic partner, don't be weird. You and your mining partner, you go to this planet and you find these fossils of these ancient creatures, okay? And you bring them back to life, and from there it becomes like a weird Pokemon-esque adventure
Yep.
where you find these fossils and you get a certain amount and you like combine them and you get bigger monsters, you get the swords, it it was so cool.
Fucking sick game. Oh my gosh, dude. That game was
You want to talk
awesome.
about games you need to bring back?
Yeah.
Spectro. Could you imagine a Spectrobes on the Switch, AJ?
Dude. It and the thing is, I don't even know if a
Nintendo.
game like that would even necessarily happen anymore just because like the threat of Pokemon. Like if they made
I
like
mean, but you gotta. So,
and it's not like
so
Power
here's the
World,
thing
I
about
understand
Spectro.
that, but like it's the same concept.
Yeah, I mean, it's different enough from Power World. Well, oh, Jesus, it's different enough from Pokemon
Yeah.
to where you can't get sued. All right, you throw balls at Pokemon. You have to dig this creature out of the ground, and you have to feed it. You have to train it. You have to combine it with the right mixture to make the right thing. You have to find these weird crystals to make them stronger. It was so in depth and complicated
Hmm.
for absolutely no reason. You can go to different planets to find different Spectrobes that like had advantages on other Spectrobes. It was really cool.
Yeah, no, it was such a cool game. I gotta play that again. I have it still. I'm pretty sure. Um,
I have no idea where my copy is. I probably sold it like to GameStop a
for like
long time ago
$2.
because like not even. But
Yeah. Something else that a topic I want to bring up. So, Angry Birds also released this year,
yes.
which
Hmm.
technically, according to the definition, makes it a retro game. But do we count mobile games as retro games?
I don't see why not.
I agree. I don't see why not. I mean, a game is a game. At the end of the day, even if it's a shit one, it's still a game, and it by definition it is. So I was curious to see what you think. I would love to hear what you guys think down below if mobile games should be.
Please like, comment, and subscribe if you think mobile games shouldn't count as as retro games. Only because we need differing opinions. We're not an echo chamber. We're a community. We're a family.
We are a family with different backgrounds and opinions. Another question I have from this
Mhm,
list of 2009 games:
mhm.
Minecraft. Was that
Yes.
retro because that's still being updated and actively supported to this day?
I would argue that the Minecraft we got in 2009 is a completely different game than the Minecraft we
Mm-hmm.
have now. Because the first Minecraft technically was a survival game. And I mean, in the original version of Minecraft, you didn't have to eat. Let's start there.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
right, and like water worked a little bit differently. There were certain glitches. Oh, do you remember the what were they called? What were they called? Because what would happen is because Minecraft is procedurally generated, it could only generate so far. So
Yeah.
once you got past a certain amount of blocks from your spawn, it had these weird, complicated nowhere land type
Oh, it
things.
almost looked like what the oh, they're not mesas. The terracotta areas look like now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It reminds me of like the floating islands in Avatar, where like
Mm-hmm.
literally it would just be chunks of like just stuff that spawned like
Mm-hmm.
100 or so. It wasn't 100, it might have been like 1,000, but it was like a certain amount of blocks away, and it would just be floating, and there would be water out of the rocks, and it was so weird, but it was so cool, and like there was lore around it that people just decided like, yeah, this has to be intentional, and then they patched it out, but
Yeah.
yeah, it was really cool.
It was super cool. And now I think it's infinite. I mean, the game
Yeah.
will start freaking out once you get to like the 10,000 block area. But
Yeah,
I think
and
it's
I mean,
infinite.
if you stand in one spot long enough, I mean, Grant, I don't know if in survival mode it'll actually let you, but if you stand in one spot long enough, you can like circumnavigate like your cube.
Oh, okay. I didn't know
Like
that.
you can. I'm not sure if it's infinite, not like oh, this is I don't hold up, wait, time out, because I'm gonna say a game, but I don't know if it's retro yet. Hold please. All right. So here's a game that's gonna be retro in about 4 years. Do you remember Cube World?
Yes, yes, I do. Yeah, no,
Cube.
that was definitely after 2009, but
Yeah, it was actually 2000. Wait, when did it come out? It did not release in 2019. Did it really release in 2019?
was it that
Jesus, I'm
recent?
old. I don't
That's
know.
only 5 years.
Wait.
You got some time, buddy, before that one's
So
retro.
apparently, an alpha version of Cube World was released in 2013. Okay,
Doesn't
that's where I
count.
got that number
Yeah, I was
from.
to say that doesn't count because that's not
We got
released.
four. We got 4 years. We got 4 years. And long story short, that game I think was actually infinite, and it was based on a seed similar to Minecraft, except you
Mm-hmm.
actually got to type in your seed instead of it being randomly generated. And it also was very unique from Minecraft in a lot of ways. AJ, do you remember the days when we could have similar properties like a Spectro or a Cube World and not worry about people suing? Do you remember that? Or like Digimon and Pokemon? Do you
Yep.
remember that?
Yep. I mean, shoot, if you want to compare Pokemon, Monster Hunter is, I mean, literally Pokemon designs are ripped from that, the original.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because back then, yeah, you would see encouragement almost for those kind of games. Like, yes, let's have other similar
It made it
games,
fun.
but now we have games like Power World, which is literally what we've been asking for ages. And yes, there are plenty of people that are rejoicing in it, like myself and you. But there's also tons of people, as we've talked about already on this podcast, that are freaking out about it. That, oh, they're
Oh yeah.
copying. Oh, no, no, they're, this is horrible. All this stuff, and I'm like, no, it's great. Put the competition is good. Having like the reason why Pokemon, I think half the reason. There's a much bigger reason behind it. And this
Oh.
isn't the time to go over all of it, but I think half the reason Pokemon hasn't evolved too much is because they haven't had to. No one's challenging them. Pokemon is the king of the crop, or cream of the crop, when it comes to like capturing monsters and using them. I mean, I don't think that's why they're too worried at Digimon, because it's like that has their niche like cult following, and that's it. They're not getting anyone new really. And same could be
Yeah.
almost said about Yu-Gi-Oh is different, but same can also be said about that because
Hmm.
it's the same gameplay loop, using monsters to fight, yada yada yada. But again, like a cult following, they're not gaining anyone really at this point. So I think
No.
I don't know. I think today's climate has made that harder.
But here's something interesting to note about the retro game space. Yeah, copying games. I don't even think it was illegal until relatively recently.
It's always been illegal, but it wasn't like too big of a deal until recently, just because like there wasn't. I feel like it's blown up recently
Hmm.
because as we are getting online stores shutting down, games are becoming permanently unavailable. And
Hmm.
so the only way to do it is to get it illegally at this point if they don't re-release it. So there is this dilemma when it comes to pirating of, well, is it should it even be illegal if the game's available nowhere else? Like, so it's either you don't get to play it or you happen to buy it during the time. Like, it's either get fucked or like not. I like it just doesn't make sense. But at the
Yeah.
same time, like, okay, if they're gonna re-release the game and you're allowing people to pirate it, why would you buy the game when it's re-released? So it's like I get it from both sides, but it sucks, dude.
Hmm. Yeah, it's kind of like this is slightly not gaming related, but it's kind of like with Infinity Train on Max, and they're like, yeah, we're just gonna take it off, and it's not gonna exist anywhere ever. You can't get it unless you steal it or get a physical copy of it. In which case, good for you, but it's not gonna exist.
Yeah.
And yeah, I know plenty of people who pirated it and were watching Infinity Train well after it was removed from HBO Max, which for shame. But
Or like another good example, like if I bought a bunch of stuff off of Discovery on my PlayStation and it just got yanked away with no refund, again, we do not promote any sort of pirating here, but I would damn well be tempted. I'm not giving you my fucking money again. You stole from me, and now you're saying I can't
wow,
steal from you?
exactly. Two wrongs don't make a right, AJ, and
That
eye
is
for an eye
true.
makes the whole world blind. That's what Gandhi said. I don't
That
know how
is
true that
true.
is because we each just have one eye, and like
But
the
at the
capacity just
same
goes down by
time, who,
50%.
like to give credit to people that do that, who is it hurting really? I mean, in that specific example, Discovery already got your money, so technically you
They
paid
already
for
got
it,
your
you
money.
have it.
You did pay for it, and if it was a DVD, for example, they wouldn't be able to yank that away because of
Mm-hmm.
licensing agreements. Also, it's so strange that a lot of these licensing agreements are expiring, and nobody is trying to renegotiate. I get it with like Spec Ops: The Line specifically. That game
Mm-hmm.
is so old and probably has seen like less than zero sales
It's not worth
in
it.
recent years.
Yeah.
Like it's not worth it. But like Discovery and Sony or TikTok and UMG or pick a company and pick another company.
Mm-hmm.
Um
Or
at
shit,
it's
even
I
like
what?
Namco trying to hold on to Miss Pac-Man. Like she's in nothing anymore
That's stupid.
because they don't
That's
have the rights.
actually stupid. Unless hold up, time out. Wait, AJ. AJ, okay, wait. Okay, follow me for a second.
I'm walking.
Do you remember those do you remember those Pac-Man games on GameCube that were 3D and also really cool? That are also retro.
Oh yeah,
Now,
Pac-Man World games, right?
Now imagine a Miss Pac-Man world where we just ignore Pac-Man for like a whole game on Nintendo Switch, or fuck it, put it on PlayStation 5, make it a whole AAA experience, okay? And just Miss Pac-Man world, the RPG, and it plays like the new Final Fantasy but on crack, or like a God of War game. It doesn't even matter, AJ. It doesn't matter. It's just a Miss Pac-Man
So
world. How does that sound to you? Is that worth holding on to Miss Pac-Man, AJ?
Miss Pac-Man that's dark and gritty. I love the idea.
Namco, get on your job. What are y'all actually doing?
Actually,
Time out.
you could make
Namco,
a horror game.
a Miss Pac-Man screams.
That would be pretty sick. That
There
would be
you
pretty
go. Be
sick.
like the Luigi Mansion Miss Pac-Man. That's
Yeah,
pretty cool.
that is super cool.
And like the ghosts are actually haunting her.
Yeah, yeah, they're like legitimately like a threat. Like they're at, and like you don't know where they are. Like it should be like first person where you don't know what corner they're behind.
That
That would be
or it could be, or I mean, it could be like Luigi's Mansion, or like even the Pac-Man World games, where it's like, oh man, oh excuse me, that burp must have sounded crazy in the microphone. Um, It could have just been like Pac-Man World, where it's like a 3D platformer,
hmm.
or like Luigi's Mansion, where like technically it's a 3D platformer, but I mean it plays like one, but it's scary, and now Miss Pac-Man has to figure out
So
how just a young lady
so
is gonna come through in such a scary
a
world.
Miss Pac-Man's mansion. That would be sick.
Is that worth holding on to the rights to Miss Pac-Man for, AJ?
Probably not, but I want it.
AJ. Somebody would buy Miss Pac-Man's mansion. I would
Oh,
call
I
it Miss
would.
Pac-Man World because why not?
What?
Or just Miss Pac-Man. Just give me Miss Pac-Man and make it like Luigi's Mansion, except you can do the Mario Odyssey thing where you just go in the city and just fuck around. Like that would be fun. And then at night you got to come back to the mansion and deal with the ghosts. That would be dope.
Ooh, that'd be super sick. That's almost like how Persona 3 Reload, well, I guess and the
I was gonna
original
say.
works. Where you like during the day, you're building up social links to like upgrade stuff and you're buying stuff or like whatever, like upgrading your stats, and then at night during the dark hour you go like fight shadows and go save people and whatnot. So it'd be kind of the same concept.
Ooh, if Miss Pac-Man was like a superhero in the city and everybody's like, "Hey, Miss Pac-Man," and then night falls and like, if you don't do a certain thing in the city, it affects like how the ghosts appear in the house at night, and so it's like, "Oh, you didn't save little Timmy with his bubble gum in his hair, and so now I'm chasing you."
Yeah. Oh, that's good. I like, and yeah. So like decisions, you could also have that where it's like, you have objectives during the day, and if you don't save him during the day or something, like it could affect the night like that, where it's like, oh, we didn't save little Timmy on the day, so now he's chasing you at night, and like kind of haunting you and
Yo,
shit.
little Timmy like choked on his gum and it's just like, "I'm one of the ghosts now." But you can bring
Yeah.
Timmy back to life. You just gotta do something. I don't know. I don't know Miss
Give him like a
Pac-Man lore.
power
Can I be
pellet or
honest with
some
you for a
shit. I
second?
don't know.
Yo, you gotta find the power pellets and you can choose whether you use that to kill the ghost or you just like try to hang on to it through the night and then go back and revive it.
Ooh.
Ooh, and the goal is to get the town on your side to get rid of the ghost. Ooh, AJ.
Ooh.
Namco, if you're holding on to Miss Pac-Man, quit being a bunch of bitches and make this dope game. Jesus Christ, I'm on one. I don't know what's wrong with me
Dude, this
today.
is a sick game we came up with. I would love to see. I mean,
Bitchin'
shit. Even
game,
if
dude.
it's not Miss Pac-Man at this point, I want to see a game like that. That would be sick.
That's
I
the Spectrobe spinoff, Spectrobes in the City.
There we go, Spectrobes. uh,
Apparently, there was a sequel to Spectrobes. I just looked it up. It's called Beyond the Portals, and I don't know if you've ever heard of it.
nope.
But I this is probably my second time in life hearing about it because I was probably like, oh, a new Spectrobes game. I haven't beaten the first one because I'm 12, and that was the end of our conversation on that. Well, man, we
So
got
another
like two great games out of this.
another retro game that has the same issues as Pac-Man. Sonic 3. And
Really?
yeah, if you look at re-releases of Sonic, 1 and 2 are by far the most re-released. Like 3 is barely. They like
Yeah.
don't want to touch that thing with a 10-foot pole, and that's cuz the music is copyrighted. Uh there is a
Ooh,
rumor,
and
it's not
yeah.
100% confirmed, but it's confirmed that Michael Jackson worked on the soundtrack, and we believe that like record company is like holding it back because like someone does not like it being released. Like it's like a whole thing. So it's really interesting.
And I'm not gonna skip over that like mini fun fact. Sonic was big enough that Michael Jackson worked on the soundtrack. I need you to understand how big of a deal Sonic was from like the late '80s to the end of the Dreamcast. I need you to understand
Yeah.
because Sonic now is just like, oh yeah, chili dogs and movies. But yeah, no, he was a big deal. He could have been the next Mario if Sega had held on to the Dreamcast. They had held on to the Dreamcast. Oh
Well,
boy.
and again, I'd argue if they actually released good Sonic content on the Saturn, because we like
Yeah.
pretty much a whole console generation without seeing the blue bastard anywhere. I mean, it was some spin-offs, but
Yeah.
nothing like, not like a this is the next Sonic. Like we didn't see that
Yeah,
fucker for a while.
for like a good while too.
Because again, like they
Yeah,
made
I don't
3D
think we.
Blast, but that game sucked. That I mean, it is 3D, but it's like
Yeah,
a top-down 3D where you can just like go like 8 directions or maybe it's just four. And so you just kind of run along in
oh
like
yeah,
a
that weird
blocky
ball
area.
game.
Yeah. So you guys just like run around a
Yeah,
blocky
I don't think
area.
about that game.
Fine, like yeah, it's not great. It is not great. Anyone that's
You
beat
want to
it
know what
doesn't
else
recommend
isn't
it.
great but it's retro?
What's up?
Here's a not great retro game for you. Shadow the Hedgehog. Okay.
Is that when did that come out?
AJ, let me look up Shadow the Hedgehog, okay? Because it came out on GameCube.
Mm-hmm.
It came out in the year of our Lord, god damn, 2005. It's gonna be 20 years old next year.
Whoa. Okay. Well, so that also means Sonic Adventure. Well, of course, 1 is retro, but also 2 is retro because Sonic Adventure 2 obviously came out before Shadow the Hedgehog. Oh,
Hmm.
those are some big games also. But Shadow the Hedgehog, that's an interesting topic. And this is
Is it? Oh,
coming
is
from
it?
someone who like fully beat it, not 100%ed, but beat like did all all the branching
AJ, you're
campaigns, did
gonna
the
make
true
me
ending.
just take a break. And I'm gonna get some wine. What's so interesting about Shadow the Hedgehog?
Oh, like it's the concept behind it is more interesting than the
It's
game
great.
itself. Because
Hmm.
the game, how it's structured, for those of you who haven't played it or don't know, is there's 3 objectives in just about every mission, not every. And so one objective is just like any other Sonic game, get to the end, and that's usually the neutral path. The
Hmm.
then another objective will be something else. So to kill all of a certain enemy, get touch these 3 things, or destroy this boss or whatever, and that'll be either a good or a bad ending depending on what it is. And the other option will be the other objective, which one's good, one's bad. And so then you have branching storylines, and there's like 20 different endings, if I remember
Something
correctly.
crazy, yeah.
And what's really interesting about it is you have to complete all 20 endings to then get the true ending. So all those other endings that you did aren't canon, but then
Mm-mm.
so you do all those to get the canon ending, which is leads up to the worst, absolute worst, super any usually I'd say supersonic, but this time super shadow boss fight in I think any of the games. It is abysmal. It is not fun. I was so let down. But it is.
Um,
Oh, it's a game.
yeah,
It's a game. It
it
was.
is.
It's
It's a
just.
retro game.
It is. It is. It's just weird that like we had a Sonic game. I mean, it's a Sonic game, right? That
Hmm.
doesn't focus on speed and getting to the end in this era, and it instead diverts you with most of the time bullshit objectives. Like the ones where you have to go find shit in a map
Yeah.
and you're just teleporting all over the map trying to find something. Like this isn't even a Sonic game at this point, but I had fun with it. I beat it. Not many people can say that really because it's not a quick game.
It's also not a very good game. Also,
No.
AJ, you left out like some of the most important like gameplay elements, and that is you have a gun the whole time. You have a pistol, you got a submachine gun, get rocket launch. You kill a lot of things with
Mm-hmm.
guns in a Shadow the Hedgehog game, and I just think that's really funny.
Oh, it's hilarious. And the guns are shit for the most part. I mean,
They're real
the
bad.
ones
It's
that are
easier to
good are
just
good,
just
but
pinball.
it is.
It's
Usually
just
it's
really funny.
run by him if I can. I mean, there's so many enemies, it's not even worth the time half the time. And if you do run through the levels like a regular Sonic game, they're not like fantastic levels. Like there's the only one that really stands out to me is the first one. It's only because I've done it fucking 20 times now to beat the game because every time you have to restart once you finish it. So I've done that first mission because it all branches out from there 20 plus times. So yeah, I remember that one really well, but the rest, none of them really caught my attention.
There's a part where Sonic like helps you out and it's like, "Hey Shadow, let's fight Eggman." And it's just Shadow just like, "I don't want your help, but I appreciate your help." And like Sonic doesn't say a word about Shadow gunning everyone down.
He kind of does actually. When you first meet him, it's like during the first level, the tutorial shit, and he's like, "Hey Shadow, there's a gun. You wouldn't catch me dead with one of those." But like he's like kind of like you do you kind of thing. So he does
That's so weird.
comment on
So
it, but
strange.
it is
He
strange.
comments on the fact that there are guns. I mean, yeah, if I was Sonic, I would be like, "Wow, bullets can't catch me." And also, you're Shadow the Hedgehog. You're faster than any bullet that can shoot.
Yeah,
What are we doing?
your fist is better than a bullet at that point. Um,
Like infinitely, like exponent. If I'm okay, I'm gonna break this down for the listeners at home. If any gun could shoot a projectile as fast as Shadow could jog, the atmosphere might catch on fire. Do you understand what I'm telling you? Like,
Well,
like,
and what's even funnier about that now that you say that, because bullets are faster than any vehicle around, but in this
Mhm.
game you can drive vehicles for like no benefit. Like I guess like you can't really
Oh
take
yeah, you get a motor
damage.
too.
Oh, you get a motorcycle. There's like a car. There's like a hover saucer thing. There's like quite a few. You'd be surprised. And they're all clunky. I think they're a bit slower. I think the only thing that's nice about them is you can't take damage when you're. Oh, there's like a mech thing, but you can't really take damage
Oh
when you're
yeah.
in them. I think. So there's that. But I'm in a Sonic game. Let me run, baby.
Oh my gosh, that yeah, no. I think about that game sometimes because it could have been really cool.
Oh,
It
I
just
want.
wasn't.
I hope the upcoming Shadow Generations really revitalizes him, and like I hope it does well, so that way they do make a new one that's actually good. That would be
We
fantastic.
could only be so lucky. I will say, yeah, no, a new shadow, like a good Shadow the Hedgehog is all anyone ever wants because I mean nobody likes being the good guy all the time. It's
Mm-hmm.
boring. But and Shadow is just an interesting character. He's a clone of Sonic that like doesn't even hate Sonic. He just hates the fact that he was cloned from him. Like it's
Yeah.
so interesting.
Oh, and it's more of a rivalry of like him just trying to prove that he's like better. It's really just a
Yeah,
rivalry for the
it's
most
like
part.
it's the Naruto versus Sasuke thing. You thought I was gonna go an episode without Naruto. Yeah, it's a Naruto versus Sasuke thing where it's like I don't hate you, I just hate everything about you. Like
Yeah.
it's,
Well,
it's like I think you're a cool guy.
I have had enough Shadow the Hedgehog talk for a day, I think. There's one last thing I do want to touch on about retro games before we go, because we are getting close.
Yes.
And it's a big segment of it, but it's not about any specific game themselves or gameplay. And it's the
Okay.
retro game boom that happened during COVID, right? COVID happened.
Hmm.
Everyone was locked inside during lockdown, and so a lot of people started getting their old childhood games to play them again. They had all this time, nothing better to do with it, and they got their games, which is really awesome. I'm happy that the community grew. What isn't awesome is the price inflation from people that
Oh yeah.
aren't in the community that bought these games cheap and are reselling them for insane prices. The prices still aren't down yet in 2024. 4 years later, they're still the highest they've ever been. And now it's really hard to get into retro game collecting. I've slowed down a bunch because of it, because it's just so expensive. It's not even funny.
Yeah. Okay, so I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Because typically with problems of like things being expensive, it's a supply and demand thing. Demand goes up, price goes up, supply goes up higher than the demand,
Yeah.
things get cheaper. What could be done to curb this,
Um,
in your opinion?
I don't know. That's really hard because you can't, unless they were to. I mean, re-releases help because that drives the price down of the OG game, because I mean, you can get
Mhm.
the OG game is more expensive than the re-release, and you're someone who just wants to experience it. They don't care to have that pure uh, experience. Well, they'll just go buy the new one then because it's cheaper. So re-releases do help a lot, even if it's ports. Um, but besides that, I mean, it's really hard because the they're not making new Earthbounds. They're not making new Sonic the Hedgehogs on Genesis. They're not making new Mario 64s. They're done. So supply, in fact, is only going down as discs and cartridges get ruined. So, and granted, there is a whole secondary market of bootlegs where it's like becoming
Oh
increasingly
yeah.
harder and harder to determine what's real and what isn't. Like, that's a whole another sect of this that's insane to try to figure. Especially like if you go to try to buy a Pokemon game on your Game Boy, if it's
It's a
not,
wrap.
if
It's
it's
probably
not,
fake.
if it's like 80 and not over $100, I guarantee you're buying
It's
a
probably
bootleg.
fake.
You're buying a bootleg and you're
And
spending that much money for it. When at that point, just go pirate it. Either way, it's a legal copy.
it is an illegal copy. You getting hot. You might want to take off your sweatshirt, my guy.
But it's, I don't know. It's
I
just
shouldn't talk. I've cussed everything out this whole episode.
it's an interesting spot to be in. It sucks to be in as someone who wants to experience all these games that I didn't have a chance to as a kid because I didn't have money. Right, I didn't have a job. My parents are only going to buy me so many games, so like I didn't get to experience all these games. So I want to go back and experience them, but it's getting so hard because the barrier to entry is so high. It's like piracy is becoming tempting. I refuse to do it just because it's morally wrong, and I want to
Oh
I want to
wow.
experience these things how they're supposed to be experienced, right? But it's just like, I mean, fuck, if I want to get like Earthbound, right? I've never played it, and yeah, I could play it on the Switch Game Pass thing, whatever it's called. I forget the name. Expansion pack, not expansion pack. Nintendo Switch Online. I can do that, but I want to play it on my SNES. Like I want to play it how. And now, well, I guess Earthbound's a bad example, but like because that never really came. I think one of them came over. But I want to play these games how they're intended to. I'm a collector for a reason. I want to sit down on my old CRT TV and enjoy them, not play them on Steam or wherever they are. That Steam's just an example,
A
but
CRTV is actually insane in 2024. But
got two of
AJ,
them
we are
for no reason.
not why.
Well,
That's insane.
well, okay, so I got that back one. It's not really, it's a tube TV, but it's not like a CRT TV. They lied on the Craigslist thing. And so, but like, I rolled with it
They
because
might have just thought it was a CRTV because TVs don't look like that anymore.
they might have. But it wasn't really one. And so, but I got it with my NES because that was the first like retro console I bought. I didn't inherit. And so I decided to get one. And I was like, whatever, this is good enough for now. And then eventually I was like, all right, this thing sucks. It like has all these like wavy lines going through it, like all this weird stuff with just the old consoles. So then I got like a true one. So that one's for like my GameCube, N64, like those kind of like old 3D consoles. And then this guy right here
Hmm.
is for like my NES, SNES, Genesis, those kind of things.
That's hilarious. Well, I guess I don't know. Make vintage CRT TVs for AJ, just for AJ though. I don't
Just
know
for me.
anyone else buying them. AJ, I don't have anything else I want to tell the people. Do you have anything that you want to tell the people?
I think I've vented enough.
That's good. Well, like, comment, subscribe. We love you. We'll see you in the next video. Peace. AJ, do the thing.
As always, guys, stay mediocre.